Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And I thought that I would just kind of chime in real quick to give you guys an update on what's going on with stock markets and just talk to you guys on the Black Financial Channel a little bit. If you haven't subscribed and you want to get financial news, daily financial news from a Black perspective, go to theblackfinancialchannel.com. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. And also follow the Black Financial Channel on Instagram. Just look up the Black Financial Channel. I wanted to talk to you guys about this story that I read about Airbnb. Airbnb apparently is getting a lot of complaints from customers who feel that they are not that they're not giving refunds for people that are stuck at home or can't travel because of the current situation. And I thought this was really interesting because I know this summer Alicia and I had an issue with Airbnb, and I didn't know if you guys had any issues with Airbnb. Give me a yes or no if you've ever used Airbnb. Let me know how that went for you because you guys know that there have been Black companies that have been created. I think it's Noir BNB. Is that right? I think it's what it's called. And I think there's like 2 of them or something with the same name. But these companies were created because there were a lot of problems Black people were having with Airbnb. Have you ever used it? What's up, Larry Hurt? I see you in there every day, brother. I respect you so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. Yes. S. Simon says yes, no issues. How many of you, give me a yes or no if you've, give me a yes if you've ever had issues with Airbnb. Give me a yes if you've ever had issues with Airbnb. Maybe you didn't get a refund or they did something that was, problematic for you, or maybe somebody didn't take your reservation because you were Black. They've done tests on that where they found that some people won't rent their house to a Black person. And I know I've run into that. I've run into situations where when somebody sees I'm a Black male, suddenly the place is not available. Anyway, I'm going to tell you the big story. Then I'll give you a lead in our story. Hit the thumbs up button, by the way. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, please hit the share button or the retweet button. So according to CNBC, last month, Airbnb promised to issue full cash refunds to qualifying travelers whose trips have been impacted by all the stuff that's going on right now, basically. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say that word because right now YouTube actually bans videos where you even mention that word, if you know what I'm talking about. So basically the current situation, that's what I'm going to start saying, the current situation instead of that word. The current situation has disrupted many industries, but none has been more so than the travel industry. As all of this spreads, leading to lockdowns, travelers canceled business and personal trips in massive numbers. The U.S. Travel Association expects the industry to lose 4.6 million jobs this year. Customers of Airbnb and other vacation rental companies have been particularly vulnerable because unlike with a hotel stay, guests must pay for the bulk of their lodging before the trip. Airbnb's refund policy offered guests some reassurance that they wouldn't lose hundreds or thousands of dollars for lodging on trips they can no longer take. But several guests told CNBC they're being offered travel credits that they don't want instead of cash. And they cannot get a full cash refund unless they show documentation proving that they're subject to travel restrictions or fit into other categories. Some guests are continuing to fight for their refunds, while others have to resort to emailing executives or complaining on social media to push the company into following through. Meanwhile, hundreds of customers have taken to Reddit and Twitter to complain about how difficult Airbnb has made it for them to receive cash refunds for their reservations. It's a dramatic turn of events for Airbnb, which was poised to be the hottest tech IPO of the year until this recent crisis struck the U.S. The company had lined up bankers to lead the offering, which would test whether Airbnb could live up to its $31 billion private market valuation from 2017, but recently accepted $1 billion in new private funding at a lower valuation. The Wall Street Journal reported in February that Airbnb lost $322 million over the first 9 months of last year after reporting a $200 million profit in 2018 as it ramped up spending. If Airbnb doesn't do more to help guests who feel that they have a legitimate claim to a refund, the company runs the risk of losing those customers and its hosts to competitors, said Harry Hartelvelt, a travel industry analyst at Atmosphere Research Group. Airbnb needs to wrest this problem before it becomes a larger, more expensive problem for them to solve. Our community support team, and this is their quote, our community support team has been working around the clock against this global crisis to help both hosts and guests throughout a situation that has been challenging for the entire industry, said their spokesman. We activated our extenuating circumstances policy to provide guests with full refunds or credits because we believe this is the responsible thing to do, given the blah, 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 blah. So apparently, Airbnb. So here's what they're saying. Let me just give you the intelligent black man translation here. All right. So Airbnb basically was a company that had a monstrous valuation. They weren't all that profitable. In fact, they're losing money, but that's kind of thing, especially before this crisis hit. Companies could be incredibly valuable without being very profitable. So that's important to understand. There's a difference between being valuable, being profitable, and also there's a difference between being profitable and being liquid. Right now, being profitable matters less than being liquid. Liquid means you just got enough cash available that you can survive. You take a few months where you just take a hit and you're good. One of the first things that who was it? What's the company? Uber. One of the first things Uber announced when the crisis hit is Uber basically said, we have enough cash to last us from here to eternity. Twitter, I think, said that they have enough cash to last them for the next 45 years without making a profit. It's some insane amount of time. Maybe that's not 45 years. Maybe it's something less. But it was some really long amount of time they could stay in business and not make a profit and still operate, right? So liquidity is kind of the thing here. And so Airbnb, because they get so much love and respect on Wall Street, they seem pretty liquid. Their profitability took a hit because they decided they wanted to grow. But then they've got this issue with a couple of major things. One, they've been accused of racism a lot, not the company itself, but the hosts, the white people that actually host, these apartments, that are deciding that we don't want to rent to black people, which really makes me mad. But then also now you got this issue where they, like a lot of other companies, are basically at a point where, what do you do when you have a business and 80% of the money that you made is being requested back from the customers who bought something from you in that business, in advance or whatever the case may be. A lot of companies are dealing with that. I know that when I went to Orbitz and I immediately had to get refunds on 2 or 3 trips I had planned because I travel a lot. Orbitz did not give me cash. Orbitz gave me travel credit. Now, travel credit is fine, for me because I'm going to use it. I'm going to travel again. I like Orbitz. I'm good with that. Now, but for Airbnb, it sounds like they're doing the same thing, but they have customers who don't want travel credit. The customers are like, give me my money, give me my cash. And so this is one of the underlying issues that's kind of going on here is that between travel agencies and insurance companies, they're dealing with what is called a systematic event. A systematic event means, or it's almost like a run on a bank. Like a bank is well positioned to give anybody their money back at any given time. What they're not positioned to do is to give everybody their money back at once. They're not positioned to do that. That's very difficult for them to do. So what I'm guessing is that Airbnb put all these crazy restrictions on travel in order to avoid giving people cash. They're like, we'll give you value, we'll give you credits. We don't want to give you cash. So with Airbnb, now my issue with Airbnb this past year, and this was something that was widespread in terms of a type of fraud that's being committed on Airbnb by many of the hosts around the world. Now you got these companies that buy entire buildings and units all around the world just so they can Airbnb them out. A lot of times when I stay in Airbnb now, it'll be some building that's owned by a company in Australia that owns 10,000 units all throughout the US. That's how they're making their cash. That's a good real estate play, by the way, at right now. Like that's a play I'm making right now myself is we got a place in Chicago. We're like, yeah, let's Airbnb it. And then we can use it whenever we want, but we're going to Airbnb it because the amount of money you make is much, much higher than the amount you will pay in the mortgage. But the problem though, is that you actually have people lying on the advertisements for the Airbnb. And that happened to me. We were actually defrauded in that way. Alicia and I went to London with the kids. So it was me and her and 3 kids. And we got this place that was big enough for everybody. And we got to this place. This damn place looked like a freaking penitentiary, man. I'm trying to practice not cussing so much. But but y'all know what I really wanted to say. Y'all know what I wanted. Y'all know how I am. And this place was like, it was like a big old prison cell. Like it was so ugly. It looked nothing like the advertisement. It was ridiculous. And so we had to go pay. Now, imagine this, right? You're in a foreign country, you got 3 kids, and you're going to be there for 10 days, and you got to go get a whole nother place because the current place is so bad that your kids are scared to even stay there because it was such a piece of crap. Well, we tried to contact the person who rented us the place. They pushed back really, really hard. We tried to contact Airbnb. There was no recourse. And so, we lost a lot of money on that. And so there are lots of people that lose money in that way. And so I'm guessing that, the thing that I definitely learned from that is when I went through Airbnb, I always look at the rating of whoever's renting to me. I try to put down as little money as possible. I try to do everything possible to kind of protect any cash that we have to put out so we don't end up in a situation like that again. I think renting in another country through Airbnb is very different from doing something domestically. So just know Airbnb has its little kinks. This crisis is interesting in that it's kind of exposing, little problems that some businesses have. Like there was another one that another company that really, I know what it was, Zoom. Zoom's dealing with some issues now where because Zoom suddenly got an influx of customers because of the crisis, Zoom actually, discovered that Zoom basically has some major security issues. So as their valuation was just shooting through the roof because everybody's suddenly using Zoom, there are people that I guess found out that Zoom was actually releasing people's data and all this other stuff. So it's kind of interesting seeing how the economy shifts as a result of these changes. How do I feel about Airbnb long term? Well, I think that this situation, in addition to the crisis, has probably absolutely murdered their market valuation to the point where their IPO is probably going to be a big question mark now. Another company that went through a little bit of that, or a lot of that actually, was WeWork. WeWork was the darling of Wall Street. They were going to come out to a massive valuation. But then when the date came for them to actually go public, there were basically discoveries that they were just doing business in a real ridiculous kind of way. Like they were just ghetto as hell in terms of how they were running the organization and how the CEO was running the company. So what they did was they bought out the CEO. I think he got over $1 billion to leave, which was crazy, but that's what happens. Don't ask me. It just happened. And even then, though, it's still not doing what people thought. And now I imagine with this crisis, there's no way they're going to go public and make even a fraction of what they were going to get before. So the economy's changing now. In terms of what's going on in the market, just to give you guys a quick update, today the market blasted up and went way up, and then it lost most of its gains by the end of the day. That happens sometimes. What's going on now, in my opinion, is that we're still trying to figure out what's going on. I personally see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. There is a kind of dip off of the number of new cases that are coming out. The number of deaths eventually, hopefully, will continue to decline. At the very least, we're getting enough, equipment, the respirators and the masks and things like that. And what's really interesting is that, I think that it's not so much a matter of controlling the actual disease as much as it's a matter of controlling the fear behind the disease. And controlling the fear means doing things to help people feel comfortable and confident to go shopping, comfortable and confident to go investing, comfortable and confident to even be around each other, and I think that once they get that under control, you probably will see a rally toward the end of the year. That's what most experts think. That's what they're pricing into the market. You can tell what investors are thinking by how stock prices are moving. The prices kind of talk to you. The markets talk to you, but they talk with dollar bills as opposed to with actual words. So what the market is kind of saying to the experts is that investors expect the end of 2020 to be pretty strong. I believe that too, because we don't have a fundamentally bad economy. We just have an economy that got hit, with a baseball bat, and broadsided by a major crisis that affected everybody. Now what's going to happen is over the next few weeks, once the virus kind of drops out of the headlines, you're going to start getting back to what they call the micro data. Because before it's a macro issue. It's like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. We're all going to die, blah, 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 right? Well, now we know we're not all going to die. So now it's like, okay, well, we're not all going to die, but is that one company going to die, right? We're not all going to die, But how's that company going to do, right? So that's when the companies release their earnings reports. The market processes this information. You're going to have some winners, you're going to have some losers, and then you're going to sort all that out. And then I think we'll get back to business as usual, probably by the end of the summer. So anyway, and it will probably be faster, I think, if we have better leadership. This is where, again, I never really got involved in politics too much in terms of telling you if I like Trump or don't like Trump, or if I like the Democrats or don't like them. I don't care. I just don't. They're a bunch of racists to me all across the board. So I'm not going to get into that Democrat-Republican conversation with you. But what I will say is that, when it comes to affecting your bank account and your bottom line, bad leadership probably made the situation worse than it needed to be. Also, fighting between the parties made the situation worse than it needed to be. If we'd had strong leadership and a little bit of national unity, I think that we could have at least minimized the amount of devastation and damage on a human level, on a financial level, on a social level, and on a political level. And that's where I'm disappointed with all the people that are supposed to be the adults in the room. So that's my 2 cents. Just a reminder, guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Also, blackenough.com, in case you don't know, this is our social media platform. It's kind of like a Facebook for smart black people. So if you want to join Black Enough, here it is. If you're black enough, join Black Enough. Also, if you want to learn how to buy stock, how many of you, give me a yes or no if you are a stock market investor. Just type yes if you are invested, or if you bought stock for your kids, or whatever the case may be. I like to see the yeses. That's what gets me going in the day. And if you're not an investor yet, then you can learn to buy your first share of stock for free. I have a free training you can get. All you got to do is sign up. So put your email address in. We do ask that, but no money required. Go to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com if you'd like to learn to buy your first share of stock. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I see you, Robert, and I see you, Shaddai, and I see you, Larry. And so you guys happy investing, and I'm going to go take a run with Alicia, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.